They froze. Not because of a weapon, but because a name got spoken like it was cursed. Your name. The minute it hit the air, the room changed. The light shifted. The laughter died in their throats. The walls felt closer, and every single person suddenly remembered where you stood on the food chain. Above them, always above. No alarms went off. No footsteps echoed. No grand entrance, just your name. A vibration that made the liars sweat and the jealous ones spiral. You know why it shook the room? Because your existence forces people to confront what they'll never be. You don't ask for attention, you snatch it. Without even blinking, you weren't built to be liked. You were designed to collapse comfort zones, a walking contradiction. Holy aura, psychopath rhythm, smile like salvation, eyes like execution. You confuse them, and what they can't decode, they destroy. Or at least, they try. And now, they're trying to swallow that venom they spit. You weren't supposed to survive, let alone own the atmosphere. You didn't climb the ladder. You ripped it off the wall and built your own. They're not mad you made it. They're mad you weren't supposed to. You weren't bred in privilege. You were forged in fire. While they were posting for applause, you were burying bodies of your former selves. While they were networking, you were mutating. And now, you don't enter rooms. You infect them. Your name is a warning label now. Don't say it unless you're ready to feel it. Because once it's said, people shift. Phones get flipped over. Suddenly everyone's an analyst. They replay your posts, decode your tone. They don't study you to learn. They study you to survive. They're not watching for inspiration. They're watching for self-defense. Because if you show up again, if you move again, it might mean they're done. You've done something very few people have ever pulled off. You've become a silent threat, a walking contradiction they can't outthink, a halo that hunts, a glitch in their generational software. You move like you've seen the ending, and it didn't scare you. And now they're foaming with jealousy, because deep down they know. They wasted years trying to fit in, while you weaponized your outsider status and became inevitable. They talk about energy and vibes like it's fashion. You mastered the art of atmosphere manipulation. You could walk into a crowded room and suffocate the ego out of every face in it. No words, just presence. Because your evolution didn't come with applause, it came with consequences. They betrayed you, and you leveled up. They disrespected you, and you redesigned your DNA. They mocked your silence. And now they're screaming into the void, trying to match your frequency. You shattered quietly, then came back like a mirror that reflects everything they fear. And here's the part they can't stand. You didn't ask to be great. You just refused to stay small. You weren't trying to make an impact. You were the meteor. And they all got caught pretending they didn't see the sky change color. Now they're sitting in rooms whispering your name like it's a damn spell. Because deep down, they know the truth. When your name enters a space, the rules break, the masks crack, the fakes flinch, and the real ones stand up straighter. That's not hype. That's psychological warfare. And the best part? You never had to destroy them. You just had to exist at full volume. Now, watch them malfunction. Let them foam. Let them sweat. Let them dissect every inch of your legend in real time. Because whether they admit it or not, you didn't just walk in the room. You rewired it. And that quake they felt, that wasn't fear. That was recognition. Keep moving. Keep silent. Keep deadly. Because from now on, your name isn't a label. It's a signal. And the ones who hear it, they know exactly what's coming. You, unfiltered, unstoppable, unforgiven. Let it echo. Let it rattle the walls. Let them choke on everything they said you'd never become. Because next time, your name comes up. It won't just shake the room. It'll rebuild it in your image. Smile. They're still pretending not to panic. Oh, they're still trying to act normal, huh? Still sipping their drinks like their nervous system didn't just collapse under the table. Still tapping on their phones like they're not secretly pulling up your name. Checking if you posted again. Praying you didn't. But you did. And the tremor they felt wasn't digital. It was biological. Because you've become something they can't scroll past, mute, or forget. You're lodged in the code now, not just an idea, a presence. They don't know how to compete with that. They know how to copy, they know how to lie, but they don't know how to be felt. And you're felt everywhere. Every room you're not in, every conversation you're not part of. Every deal you didn't sign still shifts around the idea of you. Because your aura lingers longer than their reputation. You've hit that terrifying frequency now, where you haunt before you even arrive, and it kills them. Because no matter how many labels they try to slap on you, no one. Arrogant, dangerous, lucky, delusional. They know damn well none of those words explain why they feel smaller in your shadow. You shrunk their confidence just by breathing near it. You know what makes them spiral the most. You didn't respond to their doubt. You mutated past it. No rebuttals, no revenge. Just results so undeniable they've had to rewrite their reality just to survive you. You kept showing up like a prophecy that refused to be buried. And now, they gather in groups like it's a therapy session. Did you see what they posted? Who does he think he is? I knew them before the glow-up. They try to rewrite your origin story because they're choking on your outcome. But you didn't evolve to prove anything to them. You evolved because your old self couldn't contain what was coming. You cracked, and then you overflowed. Now they're trying to clean up a flood that was never meant to be stopped. Understand this. They don't just envy you. They're terrified of what you make them feel about themselves. You're a mirror they didn't ask for. You reflect the laziness in their grind, the fear in their ambition, the weakness in their leadership. You walk in, and the lies fall off their bones. You're not playing a character. You're the truth, weaponized. They tried to paint you as a villain to avoid admitting you're a blueprint. They needed you to be a fluke. But deep down, every twitch in their soul screams, this wasn't an accident. It was a fucking design. And now the panic has matured into obsession. They study your cadence, analyze your silence, try to reverse engineer your mystery. But it won't work. Because what you built was born from void, from abandonment, from being the only one who clapped when no one believed. And that kind of energy, you can't replicate it. You earn it in the dark, in the cold, in the betrayal, in the years where your name got laughed out of rooms you now own. They talk legacy. You live it. Every move, every scar, every unpredictable flip of the script. That's legacy in real time, and they can't keep up. You're not ahead of the game. You became the glitch in its system, and now the players are malfunctioning, trying to find the rules, while you write new ones in blood. Every time your name comes up now, someone remembers a mistake they made, a chance they missed, a warning they ignored. Because no one believed in you until it was too late to stop you. And now, they build their brands around reacting to yours. Their voice trembles on the mic when they try to speak over your echo. Their presence feels hollow when held up next to your gravity. You walk into rooms like they owe you answers. and they do. They owe you apologies they'll never have the spine to say out loud. They owe you explanations for why they watched you drown and tried to monetize the splash. But you don't want the apology. You want the thunder that comes from silence, the pressure that makes liars blink, the chokehold of presence that reminds people who TF they're really dealing with. You are not a moment. You are a sequence, a domino effect that starts with discomfort and ends with domination. Let them scramble. Let them try to get ahead of the storm you are. Let them whisper, panic, and rebrand themselves in real time to survive your heat wave. Because deep down, they're not angry that you're powerful. They're angry that you did it without them, without their permission, without their formula, without their fake love. And now, you're the quake they'll never recover from. So remember, you don't shake the room when your name comes up. You remind it who built the damn floor. Keep moving, keep venomous, keep unrepentant. Because they can't stop a force they can't decode. And you, my friend, you're not a person anymore. You're a reaction, you're a warning, you're the future that already arrived. And every time your name hits the air, someone somewhere forgets how to breathe. Let that echo forever. They thought they could contain it, contain you. Like you were some trending glitch they could dismiss with a smug smile and a sarcastic eye roll. They thought you'd be a phase, a spike, a moment that would pass once the hype wore off and the buzz cooled down. But what they didn't realize is that you weren't noise, you were a frequency. And the moment your name cracked through that silence, every other sound became irrelevant. Because you didn't arrive with permission. You didn't walk in begging for validation. You arrived like Judgment Day, and everyone felt guilty. And the scariest part for them, you were still calm. That smile, not friendly. That silence, not ignorance. That pause before you speak. It destroys timelines. Because when you speak, people don't just listen, they adjust. You're not loud because you need attention. You're loud because your impact echoes before you even start. And now, they foam with jealousy, with rage, with guilt, because your existence proves their mediocrity is a choice. They were born with more tools, and somehow still drowned in shallow water. But you built gills in the deep end, and now you swim like the rules never mattered. They wear confidence like costume jewelry. You wear pain like a diamond that cuts through reputations. And that's why when your name gets spoken, walls lean in. You didn't become successful. You became a phenomenon, a psychological event that shifts atmosphere and disorients the weak. You're not on the radar. You are the radar. And they can't move without pinging against your existence. Now they flinch when your name is whispered. They pause their plans to run diagnostics on your latest post. They adjust their schedules around your silence, because it scares them more than your presence. What kind of monster doesn't speak, but still commands obedience? You. Because they were never ready for someone who weaponized absence better than they use attention. You disappear for a week, and the entire network chokes on suspense. They thought they were competing with your content. But really, they were trying to survive your legend. Your story didn't go viral. It went viral in their subconscious. You're not a brand. You're a blackout, the kind that makes everything else feel powerless in comparison. And when your name is brought up now, people don't ask who. They ask where. Where are you going next? Where did you come from? Where can they run if you decide to aim? Because every room you've ever entered, you didn't just light it up. You rewrote its purpose. The center of gravity shifted. the power recalibrated, and people started lying to themselves just to cope with the presence they didn't see coming. You became their unsolvable riddle. Too kind to be a villain, too ruthless to be a saint, too strategic to be dismissed, too consistent to be called lucky, too powerful to be understood. So now, they cling to each other, they gossip, they spin theories, they scream in echo chambers built to ignore your name. But somehow it's still there, burned into their emotional hard drive, an ambient pressure, a lingering anxiety that you might move again, and if you do, they might not survive the update. Because you didn't just make noise, you became proof that pain can be converted into permanent power. You walked out of hell with data, with strategy, with rhythm. You came back from the grave with a system failure report on every weapon they tried to use against you. And now you stand still, and everything else trembles. They foam because they know it. They foam because they hate that they respect you now. They foam because they would have sold their soul to pull off what you did effortlessly. You taught people how to burn quietly, how to build an empire from exile, how to own the room by unlearning the need to perform for it. You're not inspirational, you're irreversible. They can't get rid of you, because you became part of the algorithm of consequence. The moment your name is mentioned, the temperature drops, the posture stiffens, the tone shifts, and everyone pretends they're not recalculating their lives in real time. That's not fame. That's psychological gravity. You didn't go viral. You infected the silence. And now, you're not what they think about. You're what thinks through them. Your name has weight. It doesn't float. It drags judgment behind it. So let them say it. Let them whisper it. Let them stutter. Let them sweat. Let them strategize in dim-lit rooms with whiteboards full of guesses about your next move. Because no matter what they try, they all know you weren't a guest in that room. You were the quake that made it real. And the only reason they still talk about you is because you left an echo where their ego used to be. And here's the part that burns them from the inside out. They trained for years to be noticed, built their personas like costumes, practiced smiles in mirrors, took networking courses, bought fake followers, branded themselves to look bigger than their shadow. And you moved like a rumor, a ripple, a whisper with a body count. You didn't chase the spotlight. You became the reason it moved. It wasn't clout, it was consequence. Because the moment your name was spoken aloud, things cracked. Not because you did anything loud or theatrical, but because you existed with such quiet certainty that everyone else's noise started sounding like static. You don't fight for position. You collapse hierarchies just by standing still. You didn't show up to compete. You showed up like a plot twist. And now the script doesn't make sense without you. Their jealousy isn't about what you have. It's about what you represent. You are proof that evolution isn't clean. It's jagged. It's violent. It's stitched together with betrayal, silence, and rebirth. You are what happens when pain doesn't kill you. It refines you. They see your eyes now, and they don't see a dreamer. They see a weapon forged from every time they underestimated you. You made war look like art. And now, even their admiration sounds like accusation. She changed. He's different. They're not like before. Damn right they're not. Because the version of you that asked for permission was executed quietly. The one that replaced them didn't come to fit in, didn't come to be understood, didn't come to inspire. You came to disrupt. To unlearn every rule they swore was sacred. To walk in like a riddle only your pain could solve. And they're panicking. Because you're not supposed to be this untouchable. Not with your past, not with your origin story, not with your setbacks, betrayals, delays, disappearances. But somehow, here you are, still walking, still dangerous, still impossible to categorize. You make every room feel like a courtroom, and every guilty soul suddenly remembers the day they doubted you, the day they laughed, the day they tried to mock your silence. Now, your silence is a countdown, because when your name is spoken now, it doesn't invite dialogue, it invokes judgment. They foam because they realize you didn't just evolve, you transcended. You grew past explanation. You graduated from revenge. You became a presence that bends perception, that exposes insecurity, that drains the spotlight from anyone pretending. And the more they try to box you in, the more reality warps around you. They say, you think you're better than everyone else. Number. You don't think that. You know you're beyond what they ever imagined, because while they were practicing charisma, you were learning the art of vanishing and returning like a revelation. You've become something they can't fight, because you're not present in the physical anymore. Your emotional gravity, your memory wrapped in warning, you're the residue of truth they can't wash off their hands. They try to smile through your wins, but the camera always catches the twitch, the rage hiding behind the forced congratulations, the quiet panic in their eyes when someone says, "You remind me of them." Oh, that burns, because your name has become a standard, and standards are exhausting for people addicted to shortcuts. So let them twist, let them scramble, let them foam like animals caged by their own comparisons. Because the real ones, the quiet ones, the ones who recognize the code behind your chaos, they don't talk when your name comes up. They nod, because they know. What you've done, it doesn't just shake rooms, it changes bloodlines, it rewrites outcomes, it undoes curses. And that kind of power, you don't get applause for it. You get fear, you get obsession, you get watched from every angle by people who swore you didn't matter. But oh, how they watch now. Not because they care, because they know. You're the prophecy they laughed at, and now they're living in the fallout. So go ahead. Let your name be spoken again. Let it vibrate in their throats. Let it echo in their strategies. Let it burn on their tongues like a warning they wished they believed. Because now, every time your name leaves their mouth, a little more truth escapes with it, and a little more fear sets in. You're not just shaking rooms anymore. You're redefining what they mean. And soon, they won't just whisper about you. They'll build religions trying to understand what made you real. And the best part? You'll never say a word, because when you arrive, the silence does all the talking. Look at you, glowing like a saint, moving like a specter with a blade. They thought holiness meant harmlessness. They thought light meant safety. But you didn't just walk into that room. You rewrote the definition of purity with violence stitched underneath. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin. And that's the paradox that terrifies them. Because they can handle demons. They expect demons. But an angel that kills without flinching, that's an equation no book, no priest, no analyst ever accounted for. You carry the glow of divinity, and the silence of someone who's already buried too many lies. They didn't see it coming. How could they? Their entire doctrine taught them that light and death cannot hold hands. But you proved them wrong by holding both in your palms and smiling like it was inevitable. They wanted to adore you. They wanted to worship the glow. They wanted you locked in the box of innocence. But what they got was precision, movements measured, cold, deliberate. You didn't stumble into power. You executed it like a surgeon removing rot. They thought you'd whisper blessings. You whispered calculations. They thought you'd heal wounds. You pressed on them until they screamed truth. They thought you were light, but you weaponized light into interrogation. And that's why they hate you. Because you never chose a side. You embodied both. Angel and assassin, savior and executioner, saint and psychopath. They looked at your face and saw mercy. They watched your movement and saw murder. And now, every time you enter a room, their bodies don't know whether to kneel or to run. You created neurological chaos in the system. And that, my friend, is the sharpest weapon in existence. You don't conquer by force. You conquer by contradiction. The kind of contradiction that short-circuits centuries of programming. Because what are they supposed to do when the chosen one plays chess with knives? What are they supposed to believe when the angel of light executes like a shadow-born tactician? You didn't just blur the lines. You erased them. You stood at the crossroads of morality and strategy, and you built a throne from the corpses of both sides. That's the part they can't stomach. You weren't supposed to exist. They wrote rules to prevent you. They built religions to suppress you. They whispered prayers hoping no one like you would ever walk the earth again. But you're here, and you're smiling, and you're moving with the rhythm of something designed in silence for centuries of impact. You don't just move like an assassin. You move like a prophecy finally cashing its check. And every step you take bleeds panic into their lungs. Because how do you kill what looks divine? How do you expose what already walks as both judge and executioner? You are the paradox that burns the temples, the unanswered riddle that kills in plain sight. Because they can't call you evil. Your aura won't let them, and they can't call you good. Your results won't allow it. So they call you dangerous. But even that word trembles when it tries to cage you. You looked holy, and that's why they trusted you. But you moved like a strategic assassin, and that's why they'll never forget you. You are proof that light can stalk, that purity can kill, that innocence can carry a body count. You are the smile in the courtroom and the knife in the confession booth. And every time they replay the footage, they don't see a mistake. They see inevitability. Because let's face it, you weren't there to save them. You were there to show them the truth. That even heaven breeds killers. That even angels are capable of blood. That the sharpest weapon the world will ever meet is the one that walks in dressed as salvation. So when they whisper your name in panic, when they replay that night in trembling detail, they'll remember one thing above all. You didn't walk in to be understood. You walked in to be remembered. And now, they'll never forget the day they saw an angel move like an assassin. You hear it, don't you? That silence after the storm isn't peace. It's recalibration. It's the sound of a system rewriting itself around your existence. They told themselves you were a mistake. They whispered in private circles that you snapped. But the truth? You were the inevitability they prayed would never arrive. They can handle monsters. They can handle saints. But a saint that moves like a monster, that's a different species of terror. They spent centuries building rules to keep light and death apart. To make sure mercy never learned precision. To ensure no one could blend glow with calculation. You walked in and dissolved all of it. Without a single spell, without a single prayer, without a single permission slip. You didn't betray heaven. You revealed it. Revealed the blind spot in every scripture, the hidden clause in every oath. You took holiness and taught it to hunt. They were waiting for a savior. They got a strategist. They wanted a blessing. They got a verdict. They built a temple. You turned it into a war room. You're not an anomaly. You're an update, a patch in the software of power, the glitch that rewrites the doctrine mid-sentence. They studied your walk frame by frame. They slowed your movements down to milliseconds, desperate to find the moment where your divinity broke and turned into something tactical. They couldn't find it, because it never broke. It was always both. You carry that paradox like a blade hidden in a rosary, a prayer that cuts, a blessing that burns, and it drives them mad because nothing in their training tells them how to respond to someone who shines like grace and strikes like vengeance. Every time you step forward, they're forced to confront their own hypocrisy. Every time you speak, their rituals lose a little more power. Every time you pause, a century of dogma trembles. They thought holiness was soft. You made it surgical. They thought purity was passive. You made it a weapon. They thought an angel would never aim. You taught them angels don't aim. Angels land. This is why they can't sleep. Why they meet in back rooms and whisper your name like a virus code. Because they finally understand the real nightmare. You didn't just walk into their circle. You've been standing inside it for years, watching, learning, turning every insult into intelligence, every wound into a blueprint. You are not reacting to them, they are reacting to you. And that is the first time in their lives they've ever felt outplayed by light. Look at them now. The robes don't hide the trembling. The candles don't mask the sweat. Their eyes dart like prey, scanning for a predator. But you're not a predator. You're a mirror. You show them what they tried to hide in themselves. Their own hunger for control, their own capacity for harm, their own trembling hands on the blade of morality. And when you speak, it's not rage, it's diagnosis. You name their sickness with a surgeon's calm. You trace their hypocrisy with a sniper's patience. You slice their illusions with a saint's smile. They call you dangerous? They're right. But not because you destroy, because you reveal, because you've proven that light can stalk, that prayer can plot, that innocence can infiltrate. They had a plan for every devil. They had a ritual for every curse. They had a circle for every shadow. But you were the thing they swore would never exist. The angel who studied their playbook, memorized their tells, and walked in, not to plead for mercy, but to deliver a verdict. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin, and that's what will echo long after the candles go out. The day they realized salvation had learned to kill. You didn't just break their system, you became its audit, its countermeasure, its living proof that nothing is untouchable. And now, they're rewriting everything, burning records, scrubbing archives, pretending you never walked in. But they can't erase what's burned into their nervous systems. They can't unsee the angel who outmaneuvered them. They can't unfeel the blade hidden in the blessing. Because you're not a story anymore. You're a trigger. Every time they light a candle, every time they recite a chant, your shadow appears in the smoke, and their hands shake before the first word leaves their mouths. You've changed the frequency. You've altered the myth. You've made them doubt the safety of their own rituals. And that, right there, is power. The kind that doesn't need to shout. The kind that doesn't need to strike twice. The kind that walks out of the room leaving silence as the loudest sound. That's you. That's who you are now. An angel with a blade, a saint with a strategy, a blessing disguised as a verdict. You know what really terrifies them? It isn't what you did. It's how you did it. They're used to killers looking like killers. They're used to monsters sounding like monsters. But you came wrapped in light, soft eyes, measured words, hands as steady as prayer, and you dismantled an entire system without even raising your voice. You didn't storm their gates. You walked through the front door. You didn't brandish a weapon. You became one. That's why the footage keeps getting played in secret war rooms. Not because of the damage you left behind, but because of the calm with which you delivered it. They study the frames of you moving across their sanctified floors. They pause the recording at the moment their oldest member lowers his gaze. They run it back when your lips move, but no sound comes out, and every candle in the room dies at once. And still, after all the analysis, after all the expert panels, they can't find the switch where you stopped being a blessing and started being a threat. Because the truth is, there was no switch. It's always been both. Your light has always had a blade hidden inside it. Your mercy has always had an edge sharp enough to cut through ritual. They've spent lifetimes telling themselves that purity can't plan, that innocence can't execute, that angels don't know how to read a battlefield. And you walked in and shattered that lie in a single night. You didn't just move like an assassin, you moved like a memory returning, like something their bloodline once feared but buried under ceremony and translation. They saw you and felt a tremor they couldn't name. Not recognition, not déjà vu, but something older than both. A flash of truth burned into marrow. This isn't the first time light has come for us, and it won't be the last. Every breath you take in their presence corrupts their data. Their instruments glitch when you walk past. Their prayers falter mid-word. Their most trusted symbols flicker like dying neon. Because what you carry isn't just power, it's a frequency that exposes. You don't need to draw a weapon. Your contradictions do it for you. A halo and a knife, a benediction and a kill shot. A smile that feels like sunrise but lands like a verdict. They trained themselves to fight demons. They built entire religions to outlast devils. But they have nothing, not a single line of defense, for a being who can speak like a savior and strike like a tactician. Nothing for a soul that can love and execute in the same breath without flinching. You've turned their world into a hall of mirrors. Every reflection shows them their own hypocrisy. Every echo is your calm voice pointing out the rot in their foundation. They can't attack you without looking like the villains they always were. They can't embrace you without submitting to a force they don't understand. That's why they whisper your name in coded language. Why their meetings now begin with contingency plans instead of prayers. Why every hallway smells of burnt incense and panic sweat. Because you've shown them that the oldest lie was this, that light and darkness are enemies. You've proven that sometimes the most lethal weapon in the room is clarity. Listen to me now. You didn't survive by accident. You weren't sent here to help them. You were sculpted by pain, honed by betrayal, sharpened by silence, and you walked back into the room carrying the curriculum of your scars. They saw a halo. They never saw the hours you spent in the shadows, learning every weakness, every blind spot, every escape route. They never understood that mercy without wisdom is slavery, that grace without strategy is self-sacrifice. You learned, and then you moved, and when you moved, the myth cracked. They thought they were summoning an ally. They conjured a reckoning. They thought they were importing a blessing. They imported a living audit of their sins. Now every time they close their eyes, they see you moving through their sacred spaces. Calm, precise, unstoppable. They wake at night with the phantom weight of your presence pressing on their chests. They pray in new languages, hoping the sound won't summon you back. But you're already there, not in body, in imprint, in the frequency they can't erase, in the nervous tremor every time they light a candle, in the way their hands shake before they draw a circle. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin, and that truth now lives in them, like a second heartbeat. Because you didn't just show them who you are, you showed them who they are when their rituals collapse. And that's the real reason they'll never recover. You are not their angel. You are not their assassin. You are the mirror they spent centuries avoiding. And you finally forced them to look. You were never supposed to learn strategy. That was the unspoken rule buried beneath all their theology, all their spell work, all their prophecies. Angels could glow. They could guide. They could even sacrifice themselves if the script demanded it. But they were never meant to calculate. Because the moment an angel learns to calculate, to dissect, to observe, to strike with intention instead of impulse, that's the moment the whole system begins to crack. And guess what? You didn't just learn strategy. You mastered it. In secret, in silence, under pressure. While they were preaching sermons, you were studying war. While they were lighting candles, you were counting exits. While they were performing peace, you were mapping patterns of betrayal in real time. You sat there, glowing in gold, nodding softly, while dissecting the architecture of every lie around you. They thought you were absorbing wisdom. You were collecting weaknesses. And when the moment came, when the masks slipped, when the circle faltered and the truth leaked out like poisoned smoke, you didn't flinch. You moved, not like a victim, not like a prophet, but like a weapon with divine clearance. A tactical anomaly with a smile shaped like forgiveness, and a presence that rewired the room's oxygen levels. That's why they say you're dangerous. Because you turned purity into precision. Because you blurred the sacred with the surgical. Because you smiled like heaven while initiating an internal coup of their entire belief system. They called you holy until you outmaneuvered them. Then they called you cursed. They called you blessed until you broke their formation. Then they called you a threat. But deep down, they know what you are. They know what's really happening. You are the return of an ancient variable, the kind they buried under 1,000 years of controlled doctrine and orchestrated morality. The kind they thought they could drown with guilt and ritual. The kind that walks through their sacred halls without bowing. Because you remember the original contract. You didn't forget what they did. You just waited, patiently, quietly, while they forgot what you could become. And now their circles don't close properly. Their chants don't vibrate right. Their symbols glitch on the floor like corrupted code. Because you walked in, and the entire system registered a threat it cannot categorize. A signal, an echo, a phenomenon that doesn't match any of their models. You are not rebellion. You are recall. They've started whispering phrases they were trained never to speak aloud. Phrases like frequency bleed, like unpredictable holiness, like heaven-tier threat with autonomous patterning. Some even call you the crossed line. The moment when prophecy stopped being metaphor and started taking names. You didn't betray the light. You completed it. You didn't fall into darkness. You used it like a scalpel. That's the kind of evolution they've feared since the first text was written. An angel that doesn't obey blindly, but adapts, adjusts, executes. They trained generations to kneel at altars. You dismantled the altar mid-prayer and turned the broken marble into a message. This isn't about disobedience. This is about memory. About what happens when a being made of grace remembers the cold hands that tried to mold it into a pawn and decides to recode its own divinity. You're not the aftermath. You're the restart key, the reboot. The signal that says, enough with the performance. I've seen behind the veil, and now I move with purpose and judgment, and the kind of holy that doesn't ask for permission. They thought your power was your glow. They were wrong. Your real power was that you understood their entire system and didn't flinch. You walked into their sacred protocols and broke them with calm articulation. And now, the watchers are on alert. The analysts are redacting their own reports. The bloodlines are panicking in silence. Because you didn't destroy anything, you revealed it. You made them look at their own rotted rituals and called it exactly what it was: holy theater. Strategic manipulation dressed as tradition. You didn't just look holy and move like an assassin. You became a living audit of faith. And every time you breathe, their foundation loses another brick. They'll never say your name in public again. They'll speak of you only in sealed documents, hidden transcripts, black file vaults. Because now you're not a person. You're a trigger word. You're a classified glitch in the moral algorithm. And they'll spend lifetimes trying to decode how you did it. How you turned grace into warfare and made divinity move like silence with a knife. But they'll never solve it. Because what you are can't be bound, can't be erased, can't be categorized. You are the angel that learned the map and still chose to burn the room.